Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here today with something of a different video. Now, I was a little while ago watching some of Slapshoe's videos. He's a NASCAR content creator, makes some absolutely fantastic stuff. And he did a video talking about his top 10 favourite ovals, and it rather got me thinking. See, I have played racing games for many years, made many videos, and I was pondering what would be my list of top 10 favourite racetracks. So I set off to go and create said list. Now, I tried to take some things into consideration, tried to balance them as much as possible, although of course there are going to be my personal bias because, well, this is my personal list. First of all, some circuits are better at hot lapping than they are at racing. You can have tracks that are very good fun to go around on your own, but do not work particularly well for close wheel-to-wheel racing, and vice versa. I tried to take both parts into consideration. Tried to balance that one out. And likewise, the types of cars that race around a circuit. Some tracks can be very fun in a Formula 1 car, but not so good in, let's say, a Clio Cup car. I use that as my general reference point for the slightly slower car. And again, sometimes the other way around. I tried to weigh all of these aspects up as best as possible, but naturally there are going to be some bias from me. I do tend to prefer the slower cars. That is probably going to be evident when it comes to this list. Now, let's start with the controversial parts. There are 3 tracks that will not feature on this list. Le Mans. Look, I said it before and I'll say it again. I do not like Le Mans. I like the event. I enjoy the 24-hour of Le Mans as an event to watch on TV or watch some of and all of that. I do understand. I've been trying to watch more endurance racing and I enjoy the event. I just cannot enjoy driving it. The circuit is it does not inspire me in the slightest. I mean, it's more fun with very dreary as anything sort of slower than sort of like GT cars. It's just, I cannot find any redeeming characteristics. I mean, without the chicanes, you've got a very long straight. I don't know. There's nothing I can find fun about driving the Le Mans circuit. I prefer the Bugatti layout. I don't really like that, but that's saying something. It's just not the circuit for me. Not the circuit for me at all. Now, the next track that will not feature, I do enjoy, and that is the Nürburgring, or the full Nordschleife layout of the Nürburgring. Look, it's a fun track to test yourself. I can respect and appreciate the challenge of trying to go take a car around there quickly, and I've done it plenty of times. But it is not a track that I particularly like racing around, or should I say, I've not had particularly exciting races around this one. It's a fun time try, it's a fun challenge, but it's not a track I've had or particularly enjoy racing around. So that's not going to feature on this list either. Possibly the most controversial of all of them is Spa. Look, Raidillon Eau Rouge is a fantastic section. There is no denying it. It is a wonderfully spectacular sequence of corners. But I'm not really that fussed about the rest of the circuit. Again, and we'll continue the controversial, I don't really care. If a game doesn't have Spa in, I don't care. I don't miss it. It's not to say I don't like... I do like driving around it. I've had some fun races around Spa. But it's never going to be the track that I will load up and test cars at, for example. It's just never going to be that circuit. And I get that that's going to be controversial because lots of people love Spa, but I like it, but it is not... I like it, but it's certainly not enough to go onto this top 10 list. I say the controversial, actually no, there's more controversial stuff to come. Because at number 10, we have got Bristol. Yes, this is an oval. Regular viewers will know I actually really rather like oval racing. And the footage you're seeing actually is from an old video of mine I did on NASCAR 2003. Bristol is one of the most challenging oval circuits I think you will come across. You do not get a moment's rest around this one whatsoever. With it being so steeply banked, it is, I feel like intense is the best way, almost intimidating, this circuit. It is quite unlike any other that you will race around. And of course, being NASCAR, being oval racing, you are going to have vehicles around you constantly. Overtakes can take multiple laps. Now, I know that's not a thing unique to Bristol. That is just more how oval racing goes. But when you're in such tight confines as a circuit like this one, it all adds to the challenge around here, trying to keep things off the wall, trying to keep everything together. There really isn't another challenge I can think of quite like this when it comes to the oval racing. So that's why I'm going to put it on the list. It is a really unique challenge. Not to mention they can now they have covered it in dirt, and watching modern cup cars try and do a dirt race around here is quite spectacular, to say the least. But yeah, it's a really, really unique challenge, this one. Even if you're at the front, for example, you're not going to get a moment to rest because, well, chances are you're going to be catching the back of the pack and you're going to be lapping cars. So there's always something going on with this one. The only real rest you get is when someone inevitably bins it and there's a safety car or whatever. So, yeah, very, very interesting challenge. Very different to almost every other experience. At number 9... we head to Germany. We have got Oschersleben. Now, possibly most notorious for Turn 1. Yeah, look, I get it. Turn 1 is nasty. A long straight into a sharp 90-degree corner is always going to cause issues. Not only that, it's quite a narrow 90-degree corner. Although Monza has also got a notoriously chaotic, let's say, Turn 1. This is a track I actually use a lot as a test circuit on Project Cars 2. This would be the one that I would often go and load up because you've got some slow sections, Turn 1 in particular, a good test of slow corners, if you will. This section that I've got this Porsche driving around now is a fantastic flowing circuit. You've got intricate braking zones to get it right through this long corner, and then my personal favourite section on the track, this high-speed chicane. You can sort of launch the cars through, depending on how much grip you've got. You can be very, very committed through that one. But it's not just a good hot lapping circuit. I say the point is that it can also be a good track to go racing on. There are overtaking spots around here. Turn 1 is decent. Down here is another good spot. You can be making overtakes work. So while there are some sort of fast-flowing corners where you can't really get passes, it all stitches together into a really fun layout. A layout that's not seen on very many games. Would love to see Oschersleben turn up in more games. Alas, it does not. But it's fun with just about every type of car I've driven around here. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I think it's a great test venue for vehicles. Up next, we have got Sugo. Again, another track that does not appear all too often. In fact, this one I didn't drive for a very long time. I don't exactly remember why I went to visit this circuit for the first time, and as soon as I did, I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, a bit like Oschersleben, this is another circuit I like to go and test cars. Visually a bit more spectacular. You've got more elevation change, you've got some big curbs, you can try and hit through it, but hit a bit too hard on that lap. But another fun little section, you can launch the cars through this one. There are some, fun elevation changes to launch the cars through. This mid part of the lap is a little bit faster. You've got some decent sized braking zones to be trying to get some overtaking. I've driven this circuit with a bunch of different cars, while possibly a little bit more fun with your faster GT3 and above vehicles. I've had plenty of fun with the slower cars around here. Yeah, overtaking is a touch more difficult around this circuit, but it can be done. In particular, I do love the final corner. While not normally an overtaking spot, I got brave getting past this Porsche. It's sort of this long right-hander that's sort of banked and then incredibly steep uphill. Very difficult to figure out when to get on the throttle through here. You need to get on the throttle as soon as possible, but really easy to have the cars twitching and oversteering. Yeah, good. Another really good, enjoyable challenge. Plenty of close racing to be had. At number 7, we have got Bathurst. Of course, this was going to make an appearance on this list. It loses out for a couple of reasons. Look, it is an incredibly spectacular circuit. The run up between the walls over the top of the mountain is incredible. It is a hell of a challenge. It's so easy to have a truly monumental accident around here, especially in something like a V8 supercar. You are going pretty damn quick over this section trying to dance it between the walls. It is brilliant. It does, though, lose out for a couple of reasons. First of all, while you have got some long straights and there are some overtaking zones, top of the mountain, you are basically follow the leader. And while that's good for time trialling, for sometimes close wheel-to-wheel racing, not quite so great. Somewhere like Monaco, for example, okay, you can overtake better at Bathurst than you can at Monaco, but half the lap you're pretty much processional. You will overtake down here, but a lot of it is just going to happen at the end of 2 long straights. The other reason is that while this track is great fun, it's not as enjoyable in the slower cars. You're going to really need V8 supercars, GT3 cars to be enjoying this one, although if you start going too fast, it's actually quite narrow. There's a very small window of ideal racing conditions, I guess, around here. These long straights, for example, not great for a Clio Cup car, because you're flat out for a lot of lap with not much going on. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a glorious challenge, and while it can be tough to overtake and everything, there are still places where you can be. So it will make the list. It will just have to settle for 7th place. Now, for 6th, we head to the UK, to Oulton Park. Perhaps one of the slightly lesser known of the English circuits, but I love this track. It's great fun. It is. Well, there's a bunch of different layouts which work for a variety of vehicles. For this one, we're using the full layout, although I do like all of the alternate layouts. The touring car layout, probably the best of both worlds, if you like. It's got everything you want, again, from a racetrack, that you've got some fun, interesting elevation change. You've got some challenging corners. You've got a bit of a dicey braking zone for this one. There's very, very fast, almost flat-out corner into a fairly heavy braking zone. You will test the car out in a bunch of different ways. You've got some intricate chicanes to try and launch the car through, try and carry as much speed as you can. You've got some decent braking zones for those overtaking opportunities, which, I mean, in this one here, I've got a better run out of a corner, can use a straight, but you've got here one of the better overtaking spots. You've then got you've got these sort of slow, fiddly corners to be getting things right with. You've then got some very, very fast corners coming up next that are always interesting. In these sort of cars, you're looking at close to flat out, but not quite. You can get passes. Don't normally get passes through here. It's a bit of a brave one, but it's another great mix of some fast corners, some challenging stuff, good overtaking spots. The final turn in particular is a spectacular one to be racing through. You sort of dive. I got it a bit wrong in this one, although the AI's had issues. You sort of dive through this one and out the other side. It's overall a highly enjoyable circuit to go racing around, to hot lap, or to be racing wheel to wheel. At number 5, we head to Tsukuba. Perhaps if you ask me to name a track for Time Attack, I'm going to come up with Tsukuba. It is probably much better known as a Time Attack venue than it is as an actual racetrack, and that is perhaps what it is mostly used for. I do enjoy racing this one. This one was kind of a difficult one to place. I love the track. I think it's a fantastic layout. And I say about using tracks as a test venue. I use that because if I'm picking a circuit to test cars out, I'm going to be wanting to drive a fun circuit, right? This is one that I'll often test cars, but it is very much a handling circuit, this one. You haven't really got any particularly long straights. It's all about how well the car can handle, and I do enjoy that style of circuit. I do generally enjoy smaller technical circuits, and this is the perhaps epitome of that. You've got all sorts of different types of corners to be dealing with at generally lower speeds. The final turn's a bit quick, a bit quicker, I should say. But yeah, fantastic handling circuit, if you will. It is very good fun to race around. I've had a lot of fun with it. That does generally be in the slower cars. Your Clio Cup cars, your GT4 cars, probably about as fast or as bigger a cars as you're going to want to be racing with any decent number of vehicles on the grid around here, because it is a much smaller, much technical circuit. When you start getting the faster cars, the grippier GT cars and whatnot, it's not quite as enjoyable. Not to say you're not going to have fun races, but yeah, it loses out perhaps a little bit. It's much more leaning towards, I say, specifics, specialities, time attack, slower vehicle racing, if you will. That does tend to be my preference in general, but yeah, not going to quite make it towards the top because it can't quite work with everything. But I still do very much like it. Slight shame that we don't see it in as many games these days as we once did. Number 4, we have Zolder. Actually, this was another one I found quite difficult to place. And in fact, I find Zolder quite difficult to almost explain. When I first drove this track, I didn't really like it. Turn 1 and Turn 2 in particular, this section of circuit that we've got the Ferrari going around now, I found very odd, almost counterintuitive. I don't know why. I just really struggled to get to grips with the start of this lap. It's a very wide part of the circuit, and like I say, unconventional. I don't even know if it is, but it's trying to figure out how to go quickly through that section really stumped me for a while. Once I did get the hang of this circuit, though, I very much enjoyed it. I mean, one of the things that you will, perhaps see, I'm a fan of high-speed chicanes, and while these ones aren't exactly flat-out chicanes, they are ones that you can absolutely launch the cars through. This braking zone down here is quite a tricky one. While not a high-speed chicane here, you've got like a fast downhill corner into a braking zone that's all manners of difficult and all manners of challenge to get that one right. There's something rewarding I find about Zolder that I don't necessarily find in every circuit. I find it difficult to describe, but once I got the hang of this circuit, I'm by no means the expert at this one. Again, it's another track that doesn't appear very often, so I haven't driven it all that much. I think Project Cars 2 and iRacing, the only places I've really driven it any length of time. But yeah, I love this track. I think it's great fun. I've had some very, very good races, and as I have been talking about, you've got some pretty good you've got a number of good overtaking spots. You've got some fun sections to launch the cars around when you're on your own. I think this one was one of the most difficult tracks I've had to learn, but once I got the hang of it, really, really like racing around this one. It's good fun in whatever speed of car I've driven around it, and again, another big shame we don't see it more when it comes to racing games. Now, we move on to third place into the podium positions, as it were, with Sonoma. This is a wonderful roller coaster of a racetrack, it must be said. It was always one of my favourites in the earlier Forza Motorsport games. You've got this first section with some pretty spectacular elevation changes through here. Overtaking difficult, not impossible with the right cars. Up here I get things a little bit stacked up. Difficult sometimes to go full speed through there when you've got cars around you. There are, like I say, a couple of different layouts. I've personally always preferred the short layout. Well, I say that actually, that this longer layout has definitely grown on me the more I've driven around it. The shorter NASCAR layout, always very, very much liked. But yeah, like, it is, as I said, the roller coaster is possibly the best way to describe this track. However, there are plenty of circuits that I would describe as a roller coaster. The best thing about this one is you've got these wonderfully fast flowing sections interspersed with places where you can actually get overtakes done, where it's not, where they're relatively sensible overtaking spots. You can pass through these S-bends, for example, but it's very difficult and it normally requires a mistake to have been made or something. But you've got sensible spots as well. My personal favourite corner, this one coming up, the penultimate turn, a very, very sort of high-risk, high-reward corner. It's fast. These cars, you're not quite going to be flat out. Some will be. Sometimes it's just a little tap on the brakes to get them turned in. An incredibly rewarding corner to get right, and it then sets you up for this great final. It's a great overtaking spot into the final corner. Not the most exciting final corner in the world, but it's a great roller coaster of a track where you can actually get overtakes done. I'm not going to say easy. It's not the easiest circuit in the world to pass on, of course not, but there are some sensible spots to be overtaken while you can enjoy these pretty wild and pretty interesting flowing sections as well. It does take no prisoners, this track. You run wide, you are going to be in a world of pain, that's for sure. There is very little runoff whatsoever around here, and dipping a wheel on the grass, incredibly easy to have a big accident. But yeah, I love it. I wish, it's a big shame it's not in Forza Motorsport, because it has always been one of my very favourites. We head to second place, something a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit different here. We're going to hell for a rallycross circuit. This one was a difficult one to place for me, I have to say. It is very specialised, of course, being, well, a rallycross track. Formula 1 cars not going to be as much fun to drive around here, for example, as a rallycross car. However, there are different types of rally car, naturally. I've driven plenty of them around here, all of them highly enjoyable, and there's something hypnotic about this track. It's difficult to describe until you kind of get into a rhythm around this one, but it is genuinely, at least to me, genuinely something hypnotic about getting the car around. It's a short lap, of course it is, being a rallycross circuit and everything, but it flows wonderfully together. It is one of I say one of the best. Rallycross racing itself is normally pretty good fun, but with it being a little bit wide, with it being relatively fast, a little bit more margin for error because of the width of the circuit, you can generally get very, very good, very, very close racing around this one. Now, the Dirt Rally 2 engine does also help a bit with the enjoyment factor. I've played this in other games as well, and it's still a wonderful circuit. Dirt Rally 2 in particular, though, it shines because you can get a lap of this circuit without actually touching the brake. When I say that, you can get a very fast lap of this circuit without ever actually needing to go on the brake. You can just kind of, because of the size of the track and the way the Dirt Physics engine works, you can just grab the handbrake and slide it around these corners and be carrying plenty of speed. Of course, favourite turn, this one down here, because you can basically rip the handbrake and go backwards into it, and in Dirt Rally that's a very quick way to get around it. In other games you can do the same, it's not necessarily as quick, but yeah, it's such a good flowing circuit and so good for close rallycross racing that it had to go on this list, and I've just always loved driving around it, hence why it has ended up so high. However, at number 1, it was never really in any doubt, to be honest. We have got Knockhill. Now, in the course of making this video, various tracks have been on the list, fallen off the list, moved around positions on the list, and all of that sort of thing, but one consistent was Knockhill at the top. There was never a doubt in my mind, really, with this one. I love this track. It is a truly fantastic circuit to go driving around. I think, when I sat down and thought about things, the thing with Knockhill is every single corner on this track is good. Every single corner on this track is spectacular in its own way. You've got overtaking spots like this final hairpin, for example, that has got a sort of rather it's a big hairpin with a relatively big elevation change and so on going on. It's a good spot to be overtaking. Turn 1, you kind of dive down through turn 1. It is also not a bad spot to be getting some overtaking done through here. But yeah, you've got this kind of big elevation change as you dive down through this section. Got a difficult braking zone for the next corner, which I get things a bit wrong with this time round. You've got a high-speed uphill chicane with curbs coming up that want to launch the car onto 2 wheels, which is always a spectacle. You will have seen pictures, I have no doubt, of the touring cars, of the Clios, of all sorts of vehicles up on 2 wheels through there. I mean, the most nothing corner is sort of this one coming up here, but even then, you've got a big curb on the inside that can, and kind of elevation and curb, can launch cars up onto the side. Just the whole lap is constantly spectacular and fun corners to drive around. I just love driving this circuit. Not only does it work well with a Clio Cup car, for example, touring cars, it even works well with the faster cars, while something like an Indy car is a bit too big, really, for this track, and sadly Project Cars doesn't actually allow that many to go around this circuit at once. Even with really high-powered cars, even with high downforce cars, this track is a lot of fun to go race around. It's better with the slower stuff, I would say, personally. But yeah, it is a never-ending spectacular circuit to drive around. It is not the easiest of tracks to overtake on. There are a couple of good places you can get passes done, like through here, for example. It's tough, but you can do it. You've got to be careful you're not onto 2 wheels a lot of the time. Also, I think with the being a shorter circuit, you have got the overtaking spots come around quite quickly because, well, you're probably doing more laps, so you've got more opportunities, and so it's a wonderful circuit. It is an absolutely wonderful circuit that, yeah, as I said, every single corner, every bit of this track is a fantastic, fun challenge, really. The great shame is that it's not on more games. It's probably one of the lesser known circuits on this list, I would say. Certainly outside of the UK, outside of the British touring cars, it's probably not very well known at all, which is a massive, massive shame, because it is a huge amount of fun to go racing around, and I cannot recommend trying this circuit enough. If you haven't a chance, if you're watching this video, you probably do know of it, but yeah, it's such a good track. And oh yeah, also, when you get things wrong here, it can definitely bite. It can definitely bite indeed. Yeah, Knockhill, it was always going to be at the top of this list, and I do hope you enjoyed this list. It was a fun sort of thought experiment for me to go through and have a think of on this one, and I'm sure you will let me know. I'm interested to hear your opinions in the comments, your own lists and everything, because yeah, it's a it's interesting to go back and try and figure out what you would put where and everything. There are a great number. I mean, there are a great number of circuits that I enjoy, and I've had many good races around that aren't on this list that were close to making it on this list. Places like Brands Hatch, Hockenheim, that sort of circuit. You know, there are a great many honourable mentions, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as like I kind of did with the making of this. That though is going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.